Hey everybody, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here. And this week in data breaches was absolutely off the rails, as always. But before we dive in, as always, I want to thank the following people that sent me this information. And please send info my way if you've got it. And that would be Barrett Peterson, Jay Dance, Chris Fellon, and Sander Slidner. And guys, thank you very much. And again, keep sending in those tips. It's greatly appreciated, and I'll keep giving you shout outs here. Now, with that, let's start over in the United Kingdom and talk about the NHS, or National Health Service, because NHS trusts are sharing intimate details about patients' medical conditions, appointments, and treatments with Facebook without their consent. And basically, they've obviously promised never to do that, and here we are. Now, an Observer, that's a publication in the UK, an investigation has uncovered a covert tracking tool in the websites of 20 NHS trusts, which has for years collected browsing information and shared it with the tech giant in a major breach of privacy in the United Kingdom. Now, that data includes granular details about things like pages viewed, buttons clicked, keyword searches. It also matches the user's IP address, an identifier that links the individual to their household, et cetera, as an overview for what that is. And in many cases, gives details about their Facebook account as well. And so heads up to you, if you're in the UK using your local NHS trust, make sure they don't have a Facebook tracker integrated into the web portal you're using to set up appointments and more. Moving on. Let's talk about Amazon. Yes, the Amazon, because PillPack, an online pharmacy owned by them, has reported a data breach affecting more than 19,000 customers. Now, PillPack said an internal investigation found email addresses and passwords were not taken, and it's likely the unauthorized user was able to access accounts because customers use the same login information for another website. In other words, they're doing credential stuffing or credential spraying, where they are taking essentially credentials from a different source and trying it somewhere else. Quote, there is no evidence that the information viewed has been used in any way, and there has been no unusual activity on the impacted accounts. The limited information that was revealed is not enough to seal someone's identity. This event is limited to PillPack, and we have notified the impacted customers directly and posted a notification to our website. So basically, Amazon is saying it's not them, it's all of you for using the same password, which you obviously should not do. But in Amazon fashion, even if it was them, they would never tell us. And so with that, let's move on and talk about Universal Health Services of Delaware, or UHS, because approximately 130,000 of their patients in Texas and an untold number of others nationwide are being notified that their protected health information was compromised when attackers breached the computer system of Universal Healthcare Systems of Delaware, or UHS. Now, UHS treats more than 3.4 million patients per year, so it's very possible that more are caught up in this, but obviously this is a disclosure to Texans, to their attorney general, and so we are expecting more. The data we're talking about here are names, addresses, social security numbers, medical record numbers, fingerprints, photographs, test results, prescribed medications, and insurance billing information. So if you use UHS for all your Universal Health Services needs, you definitely want to check in. Moving on, let's talk about Retirement Clearinghouse, LLC, here in the United States. They just alerted more than 10,500 individuals that their personal data, including individual retirement account numbers, may have been compromised. Now, the organization, alerted individuals with written notice dated May 12th that their information may be at risk for fraud, and this is according to public filings in the states where they are located. Now, according to the firm, the files included people's names, social security numbers, IRA account numbers held by Matrix Trust Co., a division of Broadridge Financial Solutions that provides those types of services, rollovers, and third-party administrator record keeping. So, again, I'm sorry, I'm under the weather today. Retirement Clearinghouse users, basically heads up to you. Moving on, let's talk about the United States Marine Corps, because their officials are investigating the personal information they're investigating after the personal information of approximately 39,000 personnel, including Marines, sailors, and civilians working within the Department of Defense, was involved in a data breach that was discovered on May 12th. Now, the Marine Corps said the breach occurred when an unencrypted email was sent from within the Camp Pendleton-based Combat Logistics Regiment 17, which is part of the 1st Marine Logistics Group, to the administrators of the Defense Travel System. This unencrypted email sent on May 9th contained variations of personal information, including full names, last 4 digits of social security numbers, the contact information information of personnel, including phone numbers, email addresses, as well as residential and mailing addresses, according to the May 19 notification, basically sent by J.S. McCalmont, the commanding officer of the Combat Logistics Regiment 17. The letter also advised account and routing numbers for affected personnel's checking and savings account were also included in that breach. So, if you are a Marine or you are a sailor right now in the Navy, you might want to check in, especially if you have anything to do at Pendleton and basically are under the umbrella of the 1st Marine Logistics Group. So heads up to you. Stay safe out there. Moving on, let's talk about Clark County Hospital. Now, they basically this past Wednesday disclosed that they suffered a data breach after the Royal ransomware gang hit them. Now, investigation determined that an unauthorized party gained access to their network and may have taken patients' personal and health information, such as names, addresses, dates of birth, health insurance information, and medical record numbers. So heads up to you. Clark County Hospital in Iowa, for the record, patients. And let's move on to our mini segment, basically saying you should have spent on cybersecurity, otherwise you wouldn't be getting sued. And here are what we're talking about: the lawsuits of the week, the class actions of the week, the settlements of the week, and there are a few. And let's wrap this up. First one's first is the Met. Basically in the Opera House in New York City. I talked about them a few weeks ago, at least I think it was a few weeks ago. Definitely talked about them though. Quote, the Met failed to detect an intruder with access to and possession of the Met's current/former employees' customer data. It took a complete shutdown of the Met's website and box office for the Met to finally detect the presence of the intruder. In other words, they're getting sued. So if you're a ticket holder to the Met, odds are you might get compensation. Moving on. We're talking about Bank Syariah in Indonesia. I literally talked about them last week. Statements now made essentially by officials in the Indonesian government are saying, yes, it looks like basically a class action in Indonesia, whatever it's called there. I don't know if it's a class action, group action, whatever it is. Looks like it's basically going to be hitting one of the largest banks and banking systems in that country, Indonesia being, I believe, the 4th populous country in the world. So this obviously will be a major one. But if you bank with Bank Syariah in Indonesia, it's one of the largest Islamic banks as well. Heads up to you. Moving on. The last lawsuit we've got going on is Yum Brands. Now, they said that several class action lawsuits were filed in April by current and former employees alleging privacy violations in connection with their data breach, which I talked about, I would say, roughly a year ago, 6 months to a year ago or so. Now, if you didn't know, Yum is huge. They operate basically or franchise more than 55,000 restaurants around the world under their various brands that they own, including KFC or Kentucky Fried Chicken, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Habit Burger Grill, and many, many more. So heads up to you if you're a former employee or current employee of a Yum Brands franchise or restaurant. Huge problem for them. And so those were your roundups this week. Not nearly as many, but perfectly honest, not nearly as many breaches this week too, which honestly isn't a bad thing. So there you go. Moving on, let's talk about the State Bar of Georgia. That's right. If you're a lawyer in Georgia, heads up to you, because the State Bar was hit by a ransomware attack earlier this year, and the organization has now confirmed that member and employee information was compromised. In other words, I will soon be talking about that class action lawsuit coming from the State Bar of Georgia. Now, this incident occurred in April of 2022. And was disclosed in early May, when few details were shared by the organization. Roughly 1 month later, they basically revealed the attack involved the BitLocker ransomware, which encrypted 10 servers and workstations. I'm guessing they mean Lockbit, because honestly, BitLocker is a Microsoft product. Now, it might have involved BitLocker, but I'm willing to say the article screwed up and it's Lockbit. But hey, if I'm missing a ransomware gang, I'd be surprised, but it does happen. Exposed personal information for the bar includes names, addresses, dates of birth, social security, driver's license numbers, direct deposit information, and new change information. So again, if you're a lawyer in Georgia, you might want to check out your state bar. I'm willing to bet you're going to get paid. Moving on. Let's talk about Apria Healthcare, because on May 22nd of this year, they notified patients that they experienced a data breach after an unauthorized party accessed sensitive consumer data entrusted to that company. Now, according to Apria, they determined that information stored on their servers had been subject to unauthorized access, and get this, from April 4th of 2019 through October 10 of 2021. We are just hearing about it now, almost 2 years later, year and a half, 2 years later. Now, Apria determined that the information was names, addresses, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, financial information, medical information, and health insurance information. So if you use Apria Healthcare for all your healthcare needs, you know what to do. Moving on, quick update on Capita. More companies keep disclosing, and this time we're heading to the United Kingdom because Adder and Worthing Council in the United Kingdom is now declaring a Capita breach. We're talking about roughly 100 people, which I believe is the smallest Capita breach I've seen to date. You know, I'll keep you up to date here. Interestingly enough, some of the other big ones that I'm reporting on this week apparently were off. I literally didn't have as many breaches this week, and quite frankly, it's a nice relief because these things were just getting longer and longer. Next up, we're heading to India. And we're talking about their popular intimate wear platform for women known as Zivame. Now, threat actors have put personal information of 1.5 million Zivame customers for sale. India Today Open Source Intelligence, or OSINT, their team spoke to one of the entities claiming to possess this data, and they're willing to sell it for $500 US in cryptocurrency, which honestly does not seem like a lot. So I'm willing to bet, because I do not know what information was taken, it probably wasn't enough to run an identity scam. But heads up to you if you're a Zivame shopper. And finally, and like I said, it was a short week this week. We all got a break, myself included. Not bad for a holiday weekend, as I'm, sitting here. So all good. We are talking now about Tesla. Yes, the car maker. Now, the other day, I want to say 2 days ago or so, 3 days ago, basically I did a video on this exact thing. So if you want more details specifically on this situation and the logistics of that, let me know. But Tesla actually went through a data breach, and that wasn't the topic of my video a couple of days ago, but now it is. Now, the data protection watchdog for the Netherlands said this past Friday, the date actually I did the video, so that's a few days ago or so, said that they were aware of a possible Tesla data breach, but it's too early to further comment. Now, here's what happened, just at an overview level. And again, I dived in at the other, the video and podcast I did that day. Germany's Handelsblatt publication reported basically on Thursday that Elon Musk's Tesla had allegedly failed to adequately protect data from customers, employees, and business partners, citing 100 gigabytes of confidential data leaked by a whistleblower. Quote, "We are aware of the Handelsblatt story and we are looking into it." That's according to a spokesman basically for the AP watchdog in the Netherlands, where Tesla's European headquarters is located. They all declined to comment on whether the agency might launch or have launched an investigation, citing policy. The Dutch agency was informed by its counterpart in the German state of Brandenburg. I'm assuming that's where Handelsblatt is from. Now, Handelsblatt said Tesla notified the Dutch authorities about the breach, but the AP spokesperson said they were not aware if the company had made any representations to the agency. And basically, in a nutshell, and I really do say go watch my video from like last Thursday or Friday or whatever it was, a few days ago or so, as you're listening to this, or if you're watching this as well. Basically, they got a whole bunch of information that shows that Tesla had been hiding problems with their autopilot self-driving car system. They had thousands of complaints that they were failing to report. And so I dove into that. I talked about other car brands compared to them, who was worst or best versus JD Powers, where Tesla ranked. Now with this new information, they probably rank lower, et cetera, et cetera. It was a great video. It was a fun time. So anyway, go check that out. And if you're a Tesla driver, definitely 100% check that out. But those were your breaches of the week. Were you affected? Let me know. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.